Well, the good news is you're at an orientation.
All right, tension is the engine that drives all storytelling. And the TV show Severance uses tricks from psychological horror to keep viewers engaged, keep the tension building until it all comes down to a final climax with a huge payoff. I'm Dad the Dungeon Master. I've been a DM for over a decade, and today we're going to go over the tricks that Severance uses to keep its viewers engaged that you can use to keep your players engaged in your D&D campaigns. So let's get into it. Now, all three of these tips are super fun and can add really interesting wrinkles to your campaign, but the third one is the one that really paid off big for me. So trick number one, imagine you're standing in a blank white room. You have no idea how you got there. You look down and lying on a desk in front of you is a contract signed with your signature, but you don't remember writing it.
What the f is this?
Severance is set up so that the characters actually have two personalities, and these two sets of memories never interact with each other. They have an inside work person and an outside work person. So the inside work person, which is the main character for each of the characters in the show, is trying to piece together who they are with limited information. So it's a really fun trick that you can only use on one or two characters, but it will really keep them engaged. Think about how Mollymock is trying to figure out his past in Campaign 2 of Critical Role, or how Shalon from the Stormlight Archive is remembering memories that she has repressed. Their characters develop not by learning new things, but by remembering old things.
Forgive me for the harm I have caused this world.
And you can do this by covertly passing notes to one of your players and tell them that they're remembering something from their past. It might help to discuss this with the player beforehand, or maybe do it once, and when they react, see how they react, and then talk about it with them after that session. That way you can tell them like, hey, your character doesn't realize it, but they have memories that they've repressed. They've done things in their past. Are you cool with going with this in the future? You want to make sure that your players always are on board, but I've never used that and had a player been like, no, I hate you doing special things for my character. Players will like it when you take special attention to give their characters something unique and different that the other players don't have. And with D&D being a fantasy setting, you can do this in a number of different ways. Maybe they got cursed. Maybe they made a deal with a hag, and part of the deal was that they forgot that it happened. Maybe some sort of magic was cast on them, like modify memory, and it changed the way that they remember the past. There are multiple different ways you can use this, and they will all lead to a fun payoff. The second big lesson that I took away from Severance is the horror of the mundane. You take a relatively normal thing. In Severance, they use an office building, but you twist it in a way where it's just not quite right. Sort of the way like Uncanny Valley, if you've seen those pictures where it's a human's face, but it just looks wrong and it instills fear in you. That same kind of something just being a little bit off can really drive an uneasy feeling into your players and really ramp up tension. If you've ever seen that popular story that's gone around online about the guy who noticed that the lamp in the corner of his room started looking weird, I'll tell the story real quick. It's not my story, I saw it on a video. I think the guy claims that this is a true story, and I will probably mess up some of the details, but the idea is there. He got in like a fight when he was in college, banged his head on the street, and was knocked unconscious for a few moments. He got better, his life went on, he later met a girl, they fell in love, they had children, he raised the children. Sometime around when his kids were like 9 or 10 years old, he had this beautiful life, this beautiful job, a beautiful family, and a wonderful house, and he was sitting in his living room, and then he noticed that the lamp just looked a little bit weird. And when he focused on it, he couldn't quite put his finger on it. And he just kept obsessing over this lamp. He just stared at it night and day. And he lost his job, his wife left him, everything in his life was ruined because he was just obsessing over this lamp. Somehow, through obsessing over the lamp, he realized that his reality wasn't real, that this wasn't real life. And then whenever he finally realized it was all fake, he woke up and he was still laying in the street after he had banged his head. He'd only been unconscious for a few moments, but he had experienced a lifetime. So that, to me, is terrifying, because imagine that the lamp in your corner of your living room started to look weird and your whole life you've lived for the last 10, 15 years didn't happen.
I am a person. You are not.
That chilling idea, that uneasiness that gives you, you can put that in D&D. Say your characters show up to a town they've never been to, and the barkeeper's like, hey, it's good to see you again. Or they're hanging out in that tavern, and literally every single person in there laughs at the same time. You don't have to drastically change anything. You don't even have to put your characters in danger. The point is to instill them with unease. They know something's off. Maybe they're trapped in a demiplane. Maybe there's a powerful entity that's filling their minds with an illusion. There could be all kinds of reasons for this, but your party will be obsessed with figuring it out when they realize that things just aren't normal.
Why are you standing weird? Stand normal.
The third and best lesson I took from Severance, and I got a lot of miles out of this with one of my campaigns, was how they are entrapped in this system of control. Because their outie, the personality, the set of memories that's outside of work, agreed to work, and they keep coming back and going to work, no matter what happens to the innie, the person in work, they're stuck there. And the characters in the first season go through a lot to try and figure out who their outie is and to try and get messages to their outie. But they are trapped, they are prisoners. And in Severance, it's awful because they're trapped at work and they never get to leave work.
Am I trapped here?
But your characters, especially if they've played D&D a decent amount, they have a certain idea of how things work. So imagine you shift things, and when you put them into a campaign, they're in a world where all of the good deities have been slain. So clerics, their magic doesn't work because when they pray, there's no one answering. Or you're in a country where magic is illegal unless you have a license. So they have to risk being arrested anytime that they cast any spells. Your party, if their class features are literally not functioning, like maybe the magic has even been shifted, they're in a demiplane where certain types of magic don't work. If that issue is handicapping your party, yes, that can be frustrating, but the satisfaction they will get when they break free of that system of control and they get all their full powers back is so satisfying. That is a great moment for them to have. The longer you can push that off, and they will come up with ways to survive without their abilities. They will be clever. They will come up with ways to overcome challenges. And when your party finally gets their full memories back, or they realize why the things seem off and they get out of this demiplane or this illusion, or when they finally break free from those chains of control that are stopping them from using their abilities, it will be so satisfying for them. It will be one of the best moments you have as a DM, and I highly recommend you use some of these tools to up the tension, keep your players engaged, and give them that awesome payoff whenever they finally solve these psychological issues that you're putting them through. If you made it this far, throw me a like. If you want to see more videos like this about lessons I've learned from popular TV shows, any of my campaign walkthroughs, or any of the other videos I like to do, go ahead and subscribe. Here's some other videos I've done that you guys might like. Thanks, guys, and God bless you.